Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the University of Nottingham PGCEi webinar. My name is Helen Spiropoulos. I'm the Admissions Manager at Stafford Global, and joining me this evening all the way from the UK, from the University of Nottingham, is Dr. Alison. Good evening to you, Dr. Alison.
Good evening, Helen. Really good to hear you again. And good evening, everybody. Yeah, good evening, everybody out there. Hope you're going to have a very interesting and informative evening. Looking forward to perhaps answering some of your questions at the end. So please do think about questions as Helen and I go forward with the presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Alison. And just to let you know that I've looked here on my right-hand side and I've seen quite a lot of applicants that have joined us this evening, as far afield as Azerbaijan, actually. And we also have from Saudi Arabia, UAE. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so how we are going to do the presentation this evening is I'm just briefly going to introduce you to Stafford Global. I'm then going to hand you over to Dr. Alison, who's going to take you through the program. And as Dr. Alison has said, towards the end of the presentation, we'll be able to open up the portal for all your questions, and hopefully Dr. Alison and myself will be able to answer all those. Okay, so let's get started. Now, who is Stafford Global? Well, Stafford was established in 1993, and we are a resource centre for distance learning education in the Middle East. Now, we are currently the resource centre for 6 UK universities, one of which is the University of Nottingham. Now, the mere fact that you are actually here this evening means that you have been in touch with one of our experienced academic consultants, and our function at Stafford Global is to assist you throughout the application process, get your documents into the university and get that very, very important unconditional offer. And we do offer a variety of programs ranging from certificates, diplomas, bachelors, MBAs, MSc. So we really do have all the programs for your personal and your professional needs. I'm now going to hand you over to Dr. Alison, and I will be joining you again towards the end of the presentation. Over to you, Dr. Alison.
Thank you, Helen. Yes, the University of Nottingham enjoys a really positive relationship with Stafford, and I think that's really important for you to know as prospective students. We have very strong lines of communication, both before your application and during that process. So let's look at the University of Nottingham itself. Nottingham University is a member of the prestigious Russell Group of Universities and is really well known for providing research-led teaching. It's a really popular university, both with undergraduates and also with postgraduates, and has been described by the Times newspaper in the UK as the nearest thing Britain has to a truly global university. And we have campuses in Malaysia and also in China. And we welcome this. We welcome students from all over the globe. We see it as an enrichment to the kind of programs which we're presenting. I think I need to stress too that the university is really recognised for groundbreaking research and teaching excellence. And you will be taught by tutors who have taught world expert courses and have each of them a specification and a specialisation, which I think you as students definitely will benefit from. Okay, let's look at the PGCEi, the Postgraduate Certificate in Education International, which is what hopefully you're going to apply for and absolutely enjoy the process of working through this quite high-level course, but interesting course. The university is quite rightly proud of this course. It's grown in dimension over the last few years, and we have now 5,000 graduates from this course all around the globe. So there is a lot of network. There's a huge network of students from every country we can imagine, and it's very well recognised in other countries as a very important piece of professional development. It's a course which is actually at master's level. And that's important for you to know that. And it's a programme of professional enrichment. which is most definitely for educators like yourselves working in countries other than the UK. It's called a blended course, and it's blended because there would normally be face-to-face meetings and tutorials with tutors. And unfortunately, at the moment, because of our COVID situation, we haven't quite got back to the actual face-to-face meetings in the UAE. We hope to do that before too long. However, in the meantime, tutors at the university do engage in more tutorials with students online, both in small groups and also in individual tutorials. And there's a lot of conversations and communication going on, which makes this very much a blended course. So although you're working online, and that means you're working alone in your own office, you still have lots of opportunity to meet with your tutor and also to meet with other students. I think the main point of this course is that it's about focusing and reflecting on your own individual practice, your own individual teaching through theory. And this enables you to compare teaching approaches in different countries, as well as reflecting on your own practice with your own students. And I think that's an absolutely vital part of this course. Okay, I'm always asked, and Helen and I get questions about this usually on these sessions. You know, what's the course about? How long is the course? What does it consist of? Well, it consists of 3 compulsory modules, which need to be completed between 11 to 12 months. And each of these modules are separate pieces of learning with a very strong international context, a very strong international flavour, which I think is really, really important. The first module covers educational aims and values within an international context, and then it looks at your own educational values and aims, and you're asked to reflect very carefully and deeply upon those and apply them to the situation. The second module is about looking closely at understanding learning and teaching in international contexts. And the final module is about inquiring into educational practice. And in this particular module, you will be experiencing an opportunity to do a piece of very personal research within your own context. Now, each of those modules, although they're very separate, are very similar in their structure. And each of the modules includes coursework and is also assessed by a 4,000-word assignment at the end of each of those modules. So the coursework consists of very interesting units. There will be units in each of those modules, which include reading and writing at an academic level, and also looking at snips of videos to give you examples of things which are being discussed. And this is actually what we would call coursework. We call it process work, but it is the coursework. And you do need to pass this. But at the end of each of that piece of coursework, you will be given feedback by your own personal tutor, and you'll be supported in improving your attention to detail and all sorts of other things. Your proposals as well for your assignments will also be looked at by your personal tutor, and all sorts of professional suggestions will be made to assist you to focus your thinking so that your 4,000-word assignment will be very strategic and will also fulfill the criteria that we expect you to pay attention to. It's important to pass each of those modules in order to gain the qualification. So it is important to see them as 3 separate pieces of work. Having said that, in each of those, you will have support of your tutor and also your fellow students. Now, for some reason, I'm very sorry about this, everyone, but I don't seem to be able to move the slide on. I don't know whether Gaia is still listening and still with us. Let me see if There's another way of doing this. I'm very sorry about this. So far it's been fine. Here we go. Yeah, problem solved. Okay, the credits from each of those modules, providing you pass the module, and 53 is the grade that is the pass mark. So the grades need to be at pass level, but you're able to accumulate credits from those 3 modules, which can be put together to give you 60 credits. That's 20 credits from each of the modules. And those can be put towards applying for a master's in education. A master's in education is worth 120 credits, but 60 of those you will already have gained by successfully completing this course. Now, if you do choose to do that, and many students do after they've finished PGCEi, you can choose which kind of master's you would like to do. You could do a master's in education, you could do a master's in special needs, or you could do a master's in educational leadership and management. So there's a fair amount of choice there. And as with the PGCEi, all the materials and learning resources are available online. It's very accessible, and you'll be provided with individual tutor support and discussion time, just as you are with the PGCEi course. Okay, I think before I talk about the entry requirements, I'd like to just say as well that this course, because it focuses on learning, is absolutely relevant to anybody who's working in early years, or primary or secondary, or even further education. It will be relevant to all of you working in those different contexts. And I think that's what makes the course so interesting, that you bring to it your own context for teaching and learning. And there are lots of opportunities to share those ideas with others. So please feel that this course is fairly broad in who you are and what you will bring to the course. So what about the entry requirements? Well, you will need a bachelor's degree with at least second-class honours or equivalent, or an approved qualification that's equivalent to a second-class honours. Now, Helen has already mentioned Stafford's academic consultants, and I'm sure already you will have met at least one of those. And if you need some advice in this area, you know, would your professional qualification be equivalent? Would it be relevant? Then please do ask one of Stafford's academic consultants for support in this. If English is not your first language, you must achieve an IELTS academic qualification with a 6.5 minimum score, and with no less than 6 in all of those 4 elements of reading, writing, speaking and listening. That is actually really important for you to know. You should be an established educator with access to a computer and the internet and regular connections to an educational context. And that does mean that you could be a full-time teacher or a full-time teaching assistant, or in fact an educator online. And in some cases, people will be accepted on the course who might be doing work in schools on a voluntary basis. But it's really important that you do have access to students within a learning context, particularly for modules 2 and 3, where you'll be asked to reflect on things connected with the actual practice of learning. Okay, I'd like to stress as well that non-standard applications will be considered on a case-by-case basis. The university is very keen to encourage people to apply for this course who may not have gone down the usual route of a degree, etc., and teaching experience. So please don't be put off. Please do consider that your application will be considered. Okay, so how are you going to apply? Well, you do need evidence of your degree certificate, so you do need a copy of that. And you do need one reference, which can be either an academic reference from your previous learning experiences, or it could be a work-related reference. Importantly, you need to create a personal statement of approximately 500 to 700 words and make it absolutely clear why you're interested in education, why you're interested in the course, and what you have to bring to the course, as well as what you think you might gain from it. And very much connected with that would be a detailed CV. Please don't forget to put things on your CV. It doesn't have to necessarily always be to do with education. It could be to do with all sorts of other interesting things that you've been involved with. And you need to access the University of Nottingham application form and have a copy of your passport and, as I said earlier, proof of English competency. So all of those things need to be gathered together. And again, if you need any support with that, I'm sure Stafford's academic consultants will be more than willing to help you. We're currently accepting applications for the course which will run in March 2022. Although that seems a long time ahead, applications are encouraged because the courses are very popular. So if you think you might be interested, please do put in an early application. The programme itself starts on the 1st of March, but the deadline for applications is the 21st of January. So please be ready to put that application in as soon as you can. One of the things which is really important is that you will be offered an online interactive 2-day induction programme, and that is also scheduled for March 2022 with the dates to be finally confirmed. Now that 2-day induction programme is really important. It's an important event for your diary because it is compulsory. And it's really important, therefore, that you're present. Otherwise, you may be asked to defer your application to the course to the next cohort, because it is expected that you would attend those 2 days. During the 2 days, you will explore a lot of the expectations of the university for this course. You'll begin to focus on some of those key skills which you'll develop during the course, which would be things like academic reading and writing, how to set out your assignment, how to access things to support your learning, as well as exploring the expectations of module 1, 2 and 3 and how the course can be accessed. And also it's an opportunity to meet your fellow students and also your personal tutor, because each of you would be working in a tutor group of no more than 20 students with the same tutor for the 11 to 12 months. So it's a really important 2 days when lots of relationships are beginning to be formed and lots of information is being shared. So please do remember that it is compulsory. You will see on this slide that there's information there from Stafford about the cost of the course. So please do make a note of that. Helen may have something more to say about that during our question time. Otherwise, the information is there. And at this point, I'm going to pause, and I'm really happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I'm sure Helen is also willing to help with the questions, because some of them will be directed towards Helen, and I guess some will be directed towards me. So please do ask anything which you'd like to about the course. Thank you, Helen.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Alison. That was very, very informative. And Dr. Alison is quite correct. We have received quite a few questions already. What I am going to be doing is going through these questions quite carefully, because a lot of them are very similar, if not identical. So I am going to group them all together. Okay, so this is a very, very popular question that comes up, Dr. Alison, and that is, what is the difference between a PGCE and the PGCE International?
Okay, thanks, Helen. I think the main difference is purely with the PGCE. If you were going to do that in the UK, you would add a teaching part to that, which gives you a qualified teacher status. That is the only difference. Otherwise, the course is very much identical. So It's really the practical teaching component which makes this different. The actual modules and the assignments and the system of marking is exactly the same.
Okay, and a question that has come through from Zena, is this PGCEi deemed as a master's degree?
Yes, it is. It's at master's level, so it's if you like a master's level qualification. It's not a degree, it's a certificate, so it's at master's level. Should you want to go on to have a full master's, as I said earlier, this gives you 60 credits towards that, which means that you've already done half of the complete master's course. So it's a very, very good support towards gaining a full master's. And when you finish this course, and that's if you finish it successfully, you have an automatic access to a master's degree. So it gives you access immediately, so you don't have to reapply for a course, as well as giving you 60 credits towards it, meaning that's half of the master's done already. Okay?
Excellent. And we have a very interesting question that's come from Georgina, and please, I hope I've actually pronounced your name correctly, all the way from Moscow, joining us this evening. I'm currently in my 3rd year of teaching in international school in Moscow. However, I do wish to leave at the end of the academic year and want to work as a private tutor for a year and then work in a different school in the country. So the first question is, would this program be, good for that type of work that he wants to do? And the second part of his question is, for this course, do I require to be working at a school whilst I am studying? Okay, so
right.
two interesting questions.
Yeah, 2 parts to the question. Absolutely. A really great question, actually, and welcome. It sounds like you're going to have an interesting year. I do think this course is very relevant to the kind of work you're doing. I think it would give you an extra dimension of information in terms of theory and relating that theory to practice, which is applicable across the globe. I think the thing I'd like to mention, that you said you were going to leave at the end of the academic year. Now, I'm just assuming that the academic year ends for you in June, July time. It may not, but this is an example. The course begins in March, and one of the benefits of doing this kind of course is that it doesn't actually matter if you change countries or change schools or change jobs, because it's continuous. So you will start in March and follow the course through until you complete the last piece of work, which will probably be about January 2023. So there is no problem there. Towards the second part of your question is about working online rather than maybe in a face-to-face classroom. And again, although Module 2 and 3 expect you to be able to have access to students, it doesn't actually matter if you have access to students via being online as opposed to being face-to-face. That's one of the things we've learned through COVID, that sometimes, as a teacher, you find that your class has been cancelled and you're having to teach online and teach online for quite some time. That's fine, and we accept that at the university. And we make sure that when you get to the parts of the course where you need to refer to your teaching, and normally that would be in the classroom situation, it's absolutely fine to do it as if you are doing it online. So that's quite a long answer to your question. I hope I've answered it sufficiently for you. But I'd like to encourage you in saying that, yes, I think this course would be excellent for you in terms of your professional development and what you may choose to do next.
Absolutely. And Georgie, do get in touch with us, via email or, with your academic consultant via WhatsApp as well. And we'll be able to guide you, through the application process regarding that. Okay, and a question here which I will answer, how is Nottingham University connected to Stafford University? Okay, well, first of all, very important, Stafford Global is not a university, okay? We represent 6 UK universities and we do offer a variety of programs. As mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, we are an official partner of the University of Nottingham in the Middle East. Now, our function here is to assist you throughout the application process. And when the face-to-face workshops do resume in the UAE, we do facilitate those workshops. So we assist the university in making sure that the workshops are properly functioned in the Middle East. Okay, so we do have quite a lot of academic consultants that will assist you here in the Middle East throughout that application process. Okay, very important to note that your degree certificate will come from the University of Nottingham. It is not issued by Stafford Global because we are not a university. Okay, so I hope that that has actually answered your question there, Christine. Okay, if I have graduated from an American university, do I still need to provide proof of English? Very interesting question. We do get that quite often. So I think Dr. Alison can maybe start off on that and I can add to that.
Yes, I think if you have proof of education through a university in the US and other parts of the world where your course was actually run in English, I think that is different from being in a university which is not using English as a first language. So there is a sliding scale, isn't there, Helen, about the requirements for this English as if it is your second language? Yes.
Absolutely, and it's very important, Lamise, that you do actually provide a copy of your degree certificate and transcript to your academic consultant, because as Dr. Alison has said, it's very important to see where the university has been based, has it all been done in English. There's quite a lot of factors that do go into assessing these particular degree certificates. So please do send that through to us as soon as possible, and we'll be able to guide you as to whether you do require to provide a formal English test.
Yeah.
Okay, if I don't have experience in education and I want to attend this PGCE, can Stafford help in finding schools to do the work experience? Okay, Zena, unfortunately, Stafford does not provide that particular service. We normally advise our applicants to try and look for a school during the course. Dr. Alison and her team will also be in a position to accept applicants who have got access to a classroom at least twice a week. But you must be able to have that access throughout your studies. Again, do get in touch with us and we'll be able to guide you as to what other applicants have done in the Middle East as well. Okay, and a question again from Christine regarding the virtual sessions. What time do you normally have these virtual sessions, and how many days per week?
Okay, that's a good question because we understand that most of you are working during the daytime, and we try very hard to put these sessions, the tutorials and the webinars, in the evening for you. Sometimes they will be at 6:30, sometimes 7:30 in the evening, giving you time to do the things you need to do when you get home from work. And some tutors use Fridays, knowing that that's the first day of your weekend. That isn't always convenient for people, and they prefer the evening. So we tend to be flexible. And we found that if you come from different parts of the world, which has happened to me this year, I've got students in Brazil and I've got students in China, to have a time which is about 6:30, 7:30 in the UAE, that seems to be a really good time for other people to join from other parts of the world. So it has worked really well. And we try to be flexible to make sure that, you know, being in a group with other students, and the groups are only 4 students or 5 students at a time, is really important, because that's your time to talk together, to share ideas, and to also talk to your tutor, like myself. So we do try to make those times convenient for you, because we really want you to be there. Okay.
Good. And there's an interesting question from Lamise. What are the pass rates of the program?
Well, I think it would be okay for me to say 99 point something. I mean, there are always students. There's always the student or 2 who find it difficult. But it would be very unusual very unusual to fail the course, partly because of the support that you receive. Tutors are very clear about making sure that individual students get the support they need. If a student, for example, has a particular need like dyslexia or other special needs, there are people at the university there to help. So there's very specific support that's available, as well as general support from your tutor. And I think there is a clarity of expectations for each of those modules, so that students don't feel that it's too difficult and are overwhelmed. It's very important for you to feel confident about your work and to feel that you can do it. We've also realised over the last few years that peer support is important. So we encourage networks of other students, other colleagues, and it's quite important to be able to discuss things with each other. So there are plenty of ways of gaining support, and therefore our success rate is really, really high. It's just the odd occasion when something has gone wrong. Okay. Otherwise, I'm very pleased to say that I think the university has a very, very good track record of making sure that students fulfil their potential.
Absolutely. And another question from Sarah, which is actually mirrored by quite a few applicants throughout these studies. If I am a full-time assistant teacher in a primary school, will I have enough time to study and to do my workshops? So it's a very, very common question. You know, students feel that they cannot manage studies as well as, you know, working. So Dr. Alison will be able to answer that question for you.
Yes, it's a good question, because it can be a bit daunting to think that you have a full-time job and possibly family commitments too. Where are you going to fit in your study? But I can honestly reassure you that over the years, people do. Having said that, it's quite a challenging time. It is a challenging 11 to 12 months of being really good at organising things and organising your time. Because, you know, the course does expect you to do between 12 to 14 hours study a week, which is quite a high level of commitment. But people seem to work out their study programmes individually for themselves to suit themselves very well. So it may be that you would choose to do something at night, in the evening. Other people have chosen to do studying at the weekend. And part of the induction course, during that course, we invite a past student to come and talk to students. And that's often one of the key questions that people ask. And the people we ask to come and talk to you give you quite detailed explanations of maybe 3 nights a week you would work on your coursework, or you would work perhaps 2 whole days at the weekend. But the important thing is to program your study to suit yourself. I can't think of anybody who has found that too difficult. I think you have to experiment a little bit at first to see how the course is going to work out for you. But generally, you will get into a pace which works well for you. And you know, the course itself is very straightforward. It's very accessible, and it allows you to do that, to work at your own pace. So I'm sure you'll be fine with it.
Good, and I'll answer the next question with regards to scholarships. Stafford Global does not provide scholarships or full scholarships for the program. However, we do provide a partial grant. So for all applicants that do apply via Stafford Global, there is a discounted rate for this program, and especially for the next cohort, which is in March. So I do encourage you to get in touch with us, with your academic consultant. They'll be able to send you all the details about the grant that is given to everyone. Okay, interesting question. With regards to the Masters of Education, are there any other requirements for the Masters of Education besides having the PGCE, which is considered part of it?
That's an interesting question, because from your own perspective, as a prospective PGCEi candidate, that gives you an automatic access to a master's. So the question of applications and qualifications for a master's don't actually exist. You would get an automatic access to any of those master's courses that I mentioned earlier. If you are going to apply for a master's independently without a PGCE, the application requirements would definitely be different. And you would not have the 60 credits which you would have if you did the PGCEi. So, you know, there are two different ways to a master's. One with the PGCEi, which gives you automatic access, and one, if you did not do a PGCEi, you'd have to apply as any other student would for a master's course.
Good, absolutely. And the next question is regarding academics. I have a professional qualification in education, but no degree. Will I be accepted on the program? Okay, again, a very, very popular question. I can answer that one. The entry requirement is to have a bachelor degree. However, for applicants who do not hold a bachelor degree, the university will look at each application in its own merit. You need to have quite a substantial years of teaching experience. So it's very, very important for your academic consultant to review your CV and any other professional qualifications that you have done, and we'll be able to guide you and advise you if you will be accepted on the program. Applications of this nature are deemed as a non-standard application. And for these particular applications, the university does take quite some time to look through them. And this is simply because they need to ensure that you have met some part of an academic entry for the program. So these type of qualifications will have to go to a panel of academics at the university for their review. So if you are going to apply on that basis, please do send in your application as soon as possible, because it does take quite some time to review these. Okay, so I hope that has answered that question. Okay, and Dr. Alison, very, very popular, that's a question that comes up all the time. Will my degree certificate have online distance learning, since I am studying this via online?
Well, it does come up a lot, doesn't it, Helen? And I think it's definitely a key question. No, it won't. It doesn't say anything on your certificate about distance learning. And that's partly because it's counted as a blended learning programme. And normally we would meet you face-to-face twice during the course. And although we can't do that at the moment, we do meet you in the tutorials. I think I didn't say how many those are. We have at least 3 of those in very small groups. So there are 3 of those plus webinars. So it's still counted as a blended course. So there's nothing on your certificate that will say distance learning at all.
Absolutely. And again, also a popular question because of, up, down, it says here, up, down missions with COVID, I cannot quote, we may not be able to attend graduation in the UK. In that instance, how do I get my degree certificate?
Right. Well, we're just about to have a degree ceremony this week, actually. And it's one which is done at a distance. It's done online for the moment. They're great ceremonies where everyone is invited, and you will see that you gain your certificate via a sort of visual. It's quite strange, really, but you are there, but you're not there. And the university makes a very big fuss about this because it's really important. You've worked really hard to gain a degree and gain a certificate, that we feel it's important to celebrate. And once that ceremony, it's still counted as the graduation ceremony where certificates are given out. So once that ceremony has been completed, your certificates will be sent to you, and you get one online which is sent immediately, and you'll also be sent a hard copy of that certificate to the address that you have chosen to give the university. So I'm hoping that this may, who knows, that this may be the last online ceremony this week. And by the time we get to 2022, we will be welcoming people back in person to the university. That would be just great.
Okay, and another popular question is, can I attend any lectures at the university provided that the COVID situation is over?
I'm not quite sure what that question means, but I guess looking ahead, if you are going to choose to go on to do more studying post PGCEi, there are summer schools which would be relevant, and some of the master's course is done at a summer school, which is attendance at the university, if that's what you chose to do. So hopefully things will begin to go back to normal. And for example, at the moment, lectures are being attended at the university in person. So face-to-face work has now continued. It is ongoing. So I'm not quite sure if I've answered that question, but I think that's probably what you were meaning. If not, just let me know, and I'll try again.
Okay, and Natasha, I can see, has had some audio disturbances. Don't worry, Natasha, this particular webinar has been recorded, and I will be in a position tomorrow to actually send it out to you, so you can actually view it again at your own time. Okay. Okay, and very interesting question again. What is covered in the virtual sessions? Do I need to prepare for this? Do I need to study for this?
No, you don't. No. If, for example, you're talking about the induction program, you will be part of that program and not expected to do things in advance. You will be part of the program. If you're talking about tutorials, you may be asked to do something in advance of that by your tutor, but generally speaking, tutors are helping you work forwards towards the next things which are coming along in the course. If we're talking about a webinar, that is something that tutors will do that you can tune into, and very much at the time you perhaps want to take notes and listen. So there is nothing that you're asked to do in advance that would perhaps cause you to read something, write something, or even present something to your fellow students. Okay.
Good. And can I stop my studies for a short while and then resume again in the event that something does happen whilst I am busy studying? And if so, what is the maximum duration permitted for me to complete the program?
Okay, that's a really good question. The maximum time for you to complete the course would be 3 years, which is actually quite a long time. when you think about the course being completed normally between 11 and 12 months. And many times something might happen in people's lives, which means that they have to stop the course for a while. And we have two kinds of breaks. One is a short break where you would ask for an extenuating circumstances exception. Something may have happened that's short term. It could be an illness of yourself, in your family, or something. And you could apply for maybe up to 6 weeks to do some work which you can't complete to the deadline that's required. If something is more dramatic and you need more time, you can apply for a voluntary interruption of studies, which means that you can actually take yourself right out of the course, and your course will finish when your VIS starts, your voluntary interruption starts. And maybe 6 months later, you can inform the university that your time is coming up, and they will inform you too, your time is up, ready to start again, and you'll take up your course wherever you left off. So the university is very empathetic about things which happen to students during that time. So please don't worry, but it's very important to know that you need to have evidence as to your situation if you do apply for an extension or you do apply for a voluntary interruption. Okay.
Good. And I have one final question from Molly, which is actually, well, two questions in one. Okay, so if I happen to fail an assignment, do I get a critical review from the tutor so that I can resubmit? That's the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, how are assignments graded?
Okay, that's a really useful question, Molly. Thank you. Yes, if you did happen to fail an assignment, and it does happen, then yes, you would have a critical review from your tutor. You would have feedback, you would be supported, and your tutor would be supporting that development in your writing that would enable you to pass. So yes, you can resubmit. You can resubmit twice. Which is really important. The criteria that tutors use to mark assignments are very open and shared online with all students, and all the tutors mark to the same criteria to make sure it's absolutely fair. And all of the assignments for each group, each course, are moderated across the tutors as well to make sure that they're fair. You don't actually get a percentage as a mark. You get a grade, and all marks above 53 would be a pass. And you can look this up once you're on the course to find out exactly what each grade represents in terms of your assignment to match the grade that you're being marked against. So it's all very transparent. And you will be able to see exactly what people are expecting. Okay.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I have managed to actually go through all the questions this evening, and I hope Dr. Alison and myself have actually managed to answer all those quite effectively. I'm just going to sign off by saying, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Alison. It was lovely seeing you again, and we'll probably see you again next year after the December holidays. And very important to everyone that has attended here this evening, as Dr. Alison has said, we have limited places available for this coming cohort. We only accept 100 students for the cohort. So if you are going to apply, please try and get your application in as quickly as possible. I would suggest if you can try and get it in by the 15th of December, that would be fantastic. Otherwise, we do have the January final application deadline date, which is the 21st of January 2022. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. It was lovely having you all here with me this evening. And again, great having you again with us, Dr. Alison. Hope to see you next year. Thank you, everyone, and I hope to see each and every one of you on this program. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye. Thank you very much. Bye, Helen. Bye, everyone.